Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some incredibly spicy battles in the Master League featuring the Triple Swords of Justice theme team. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, the team features a level 50 XL Virizion on the lead, and in back, a level 50 Cobalion and a level 50 Terrakion. This is definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, but the battles are pretty awesome. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the Swords of Justice in action in the Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a terrible lead Virizion into Togekiss. We're going to see a save switch into Cobalion. Cobalion farming up, going for the Stone Edge, but the opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Stone Edge onto Kyogre. The good news is Kyogre needed to be baited out because Terrakion gets absolutely crushed by Kyogre. Cobalion is going to be firing off the Sacred Sword. That is going to land. Kyogre is going to fire off the charge move. We see the shield from Cobalion. Cobalion trying to potentially make a play for switch advantage here, firing off the Sacred Sword into Kyogre. Kyogre is going to be committing the shield. Cobalion not able to make it to the Sacred Sword as we see Kyogre fire off another Surf. This does set up a nice farm for Virizion. Virizion looking for the double kick farm down and gets it, and looking to send in Terrakion in the back. They have Excadrill, and Excadrill has absolutely nowhere to run against the Swords of Justice. Sacred Sword, big damage, gets the farm down, and back in comes Togekiss. These charms hitting for super effective damage, but Terrakion is going to be firing off the Rock Slide. That gets the shield. Terrakion looking for the Rock Slide number 2, and with a sliver of HP, gets there. Rock Slide gets them low. Virizion has the Leaf Blade loaded, and this will be game over. Togekiss hoping for the boost. It does not happen. Leaf Blade is going to be resisted, but it takes care of the Togekiss. Oh my goodness, just kidding. Went for the undercharge to go for the double resistant Sacred Sword, and that's game over. Picking up a very tough lead, Virizion into Zacian. Zacian hits this entire team for super effective damage, so definitely not a fun Pokemon to encounter. The good news is this Zacian is running Snarl, which is going to be resisted, but the bad news is it has Play Rough, which means Virizion is going to have to drop a shield very early on. Virizion, after shielding, is going to begin to return fire with the Leaf Blades. Leaf Blade number 1 able to land, and going for Leaf Blade number 2 here. Leaf Blade number 2 also able to land. We see a save switch into Cobalion. Cobalion going for the Sacred Sword, but losing CMP. Cobalion does tank the close combat here. Opponent baited with a Play Rough. Opponent anticipating a shield, not wanting to lower their defense, goes for the Play Rough. We see a shield deployed, and now the opponent sends in Melmetal. If Melmetal is their best response to Cobalion, then odds are they're probably weak to fighting damage in the back. Opponent with perfect counting fires off their superpower just before they make it to Sacred Sword number 2. Down goes Cobalion, but this sets up an incredible farm down for Virizion. Opponent fires off the resisted Rock Slide, not wanting to lower their defense just yet, but that's honestly advantageous, as that means Virizion gets even more farm here. Now they are going to be firing off the superpower into Virizion. Melmetal not able to make it to another move, and Virizion is absolutely loaded. We'll have to see what does the opponent have in the back here. Opponent sends in an Excadrill, but they bait and switch. They send in the Exca, quick switch into the Zacian to catch the move. Very nice play by the opponent, but bad news is they get farmed down, and this Excadrill is about to get absolutely shredded by Virizion. Sacred Sword lands. We see a switch into Terrakion. Terrakion makes it to a Sacred Sword as well, and this Excadrill is getting absolutely crushed by Sacred Sword after Sacred Sword. They're going for the Drill Run. Terrakion letting this go. Can it tank the Drill Run? Yes, it can, and that is a good game. We've got an interesting lead in the next match, Virizion into Garchomp. Considering there's a Steel type and a Rock type in the back, very nice to catch the Garchomp on the lead. Garchomp is running Mud Shot, so they have basically no fast move pressure here, but Outrage will hit for a tremendous amount of damage. Leaf Blade is going to land. Opponent throws on Alignment, giving Virizion a double kick for free. Virizion is going to commit the shield on the Outrage and fire off another Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade, unfortunately, not dealing a ton of damage to the Garchomp, as Garchomp has an incredibly good stat product. Virizion trying to make it to another move, not quite able to get there. They're firing off the Outrage. That deals a ton of damage, and now we see a pivot it into Cobalion. Cobalion not going to be able to farm down and firing off the Sacred Sword to get rid of the Garchomp. Garchomp is going to let that through. Opponent sends in Kyogre, and this is what needed to happen, as the Terrakion cannot see that Kyogre in back no matter what. Sacred Sword is going to land onto Kyogre, farming up, going for another Sacred Sword. Kyogre looking to massively overfarm in this matchup. Sacred Sword number 2 is going to land. They're finally going to be deploying their energy. Surf is going to be no-shielded by the Cobalion. Cobalion able to hang on. Opponent in the back. Oh no. They have Mewtwo. This is so bad. In comes the Virizion. Virizion has energy here, going to be firing off the Leaf Blade, but Mewtwo just absolutely destroys this team. Going for another Leaf Blade here. These Psycho Cuts are adding up onto the Virizion. Leaf Blade gets the shield. Virizion not able to make it to another Leaf Blade. Virizion just gonna let this go. Psystrike is going to be lethal, and I think this is just unfortunately going to be a bit too much for Terrakion to handle in the back. In comes Terrakion, farming up. They're firing off a Psystrike. We see a shield from the Terrakion here, as Psystrike would be lethal. In comes Kyogre, and we see an incredible catch, catching the Surf onto Cobalion. Back in comes Terrakion. Terrakion looks like not going to be able to farm down. Oh my goodness, gets the farm down, leaves with the double Rock Slides. I didn't think this was winnable. Maybe it is. Rock Slide lands, loses CMP to Mewtwo. Almost an incredible comeback win, but instead a heartbreaking defeat. Picking up a Nightmare lead in the next match, Virizion into Ho-Oh. We'll need to immediately save switch out of here, and in comes Cobalion. These Incinerates are shredding through the Cobalion. Opponent is going to fire off the neutral Brave Bird. Brave Bird is no-shielded. That does so much damage. Opponent, oh no. Now they're going to send in Mewtwo, and we know how terrible Mewtwo is for this team. Mewtwo looking for the farm down. Cobalion able to make it to a Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword is going to be no-shielded. In comes Virizion, but Virizion is just going to get shredded by a Psystrike here. Virizion lets it through. Opponent goes for an Ice Beam. Ice Beam actually does less damage than a Psystrike due to Ice Beam not having the same type attack bonus, so Virizion actually able to tank the move. That may be the spark that's needed to win this game. In the back, they have Dialga. They're going to be core broken by Terrakion. Oh my goodness. Can Terrakion pull this off? We see the Sacred Sword. It's going to land. Big damage. They're going to be grabbing a shield with an Iron Head here. Iron Head is going to be shielded, and now in comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is getting baited by the Terrakion here. Terrakion going for the Sacred Sword. Bait gets the shield from Ho-Oh. That is massive. Farming up. Now going to full send the Rock Slide. Do they respect the damage? They do not! In comes Dialga. Dialga gets farmed down, and that is a good game. At this point, you may be wondering, what does the team do against Giratina Origin? Well, let me show you. Moving into the next match here, leading Virizion into Giratina Origin, and he immediately concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead, Virizion into Kyogre. This is exactly where this team wants to see Kyogre. Kyogre actually staying in the lead. Looks like the opponent might be weak to Virizion somewhere in the back as well. Virizion going to fire off the Leaf Blade and grab an early shield from Kyogre. Kyogre farms up. This is enough for the Origin Pulse. Origin Pulse is resisted, but would do a lot of damage. Opponent full sends the Origin Pulse, and that does so much resisted damage. Virizion fires off the Leaf Blade. Opponent gonna send in Dragonite. Dragonite running Dragon Tail and going to be answered with Cobalion. Cobalion farming up energy. Dragonite has so much energy now as well. Calls a bait. It's the superpower, and that just deals so much damage. Cobalion, wanting to preserve its energy, will commit the shield. Dragonite goes for another superpower, and now we're going to see the Stone Edge from Cobalion. Stone Edge gets a shield. Dragonite looking for the farm down, but Cobalion hangs on, makes it to another Stone Edge. They are double debuffed, so the Stone Edge is going to KO. Back in comes Kyogre. Kyogre does get the farm down, but Virizion left with a Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to be getting rid of that Kyogre. What do they have in back? It's a Melmetal, and things honestly looking kind of decent here for Terrakion. Terrakion will fire off the Sacred Sword. That just does so much damage. Terrakion should be able to tank any one move here as long as it's not a Flash Cannon. It's a superpower, able to tank it, and able to fire off this final Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword KOs the Melmetal and gets the win. Picking up an interesting lead in the next match, Virizion into Groudon. This will depend on what fast move Groudon is running. Groudon is running Mud Shot, so it is going to be resisted. Virizion, thanks to the spamminess of Double Kick, able to strike first with the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade able to land, dealing some sizable damage onto the Groudon. Groudon going to be firing off the Fire Punch that will hit for super effective damage. Opponent now going to send in Dragonite, and as always, Dragonite will be answered with Cobalion. Cobalion is going to let the first move through. Does Dragonite go for it? Yes, they do. Superpower rocks the Cobalion. Cobalion able to hang in there and fire back with the Stone Edge. Is Dragonite willing to shield now that it's debuffed? Yes, it is. Cobalion is going to be met with another move from the Dragonite, and we see a shield from Cobalion. This is just the Dragon Claw, but Cobalion wanting to put this energy to good use and make it to another Stone Edge. Stone Edge fired at the Dragonite. We see a double shield. Dragonite gets the farm down, and that is a bit unfortunate. In comes Terrakion, but Terrakion is definitely not going to appreciate his superpower here. So we will see the final shield used. Terrakion farming up. Opponent sends in Groudon, and we see a beautiful switch into Virizion. Opponent fires off the Fire Punch. That just does so much damage to the Virizion. Virizion going for the Leaf Blade here. Actually went for the Undercharge. Virizion looking for the farm down here and gets it. Very nicely done. But back in comes the Dragonite. Dragonite going to be able to tank the Sacred Sword here, and Dragonite leaving with energy is quite scary. In comes Terrakion. Terrakion left with the Rock Slide loaded. This is going to be taking care of the Dragonite. What is their final Pokemon? It's a Melmetal. And let's see. Oh no, they threw on 4. They have Double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash may just give the opponent the win con they need here. Double Iron Bash is incredibly spammy. Sacred Sword lands onto the Melmetal, and they outpace because of Double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash KOs Terrakion, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, we see Virizion into another Zacian. We'll have to check their fast move. They are running Snarl, which is nice, but Snarl often comes with Play Rough, which is not a great move for Virizion. They did farm up to double close combat, though. It's possible they aren't running Play Rough, and they are not. That is very good news for Virizion. Virizion going to be firing off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to land, of course, losing CMP again to Zacian, so we will see a shield being deployed here by Virizion. Virizion firing off the Leaf Blade. This will be lethal unless the opponent is willing to shield. Opponent is willing to shield. They send in a Giratina, and this time we do not see an immediate top left. We're going to see a switch into Cobalion. Cobalion is going to be hit with a Dragon Claw. It looks like this Giratina is running Ancient Power, and if it has Ancient Power, that means it only has resisted charge moves that it can hit the Cobalion with. Cobalion continuing to farm. Giratina going to be firing off another Dragon Claw. That does not do a lot of damage. Cobalion farming up. Opponent throwing on alignment, giving Cobalion a double kick for free. Dragon Claw again, not going to be doing much. And Cobalion going for another Stone Edge here into the bulky Giratina. Stone Edge is going to land, getting the Giratina below half health. Giratina firing off another move. They are going to be going for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to land. Cobalion able to make it to the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge not going to be enough to KO, but will get the Giratina quite low. Giratina firing off another move. Honestly, this will come very close to knocking out the Cobalion. Dragon Claw not quite enough, but the Shadow Claw after is. In comes Terrakion. Terrakion going to have a pretty tough time trying to double resist the double kick down the Giratina. Giratina goes for the Dragon Claw. Opponent is going to give up switch. They're going to send in Zacian. Zacian goes for a move but loses CMP to Terrakion. Terrakion has a very high attack stat, able to win CMP, and we are going to see the final shield deployed here. They fire off the close combat. Terrakion looking to farm up. Terrakion again, able to force CMP, and with the defense drop, this resistant Sacred Sword is going to be enough to KO. In the back, opponent has Yveltal, and we're going to see the Rock Slide being fired off here by the Terrakion. This is going to hit for super effective damage, getting Yveltal low, going for the Sacred Sword, and able to get there. Is this going to be enough to KO? Sacred Sword KOs Yveltal. All that's left in the back is the Giratina, and despite having 3 fighting types, this team defeats a Giratina, and that is a good game. All in all, this team ended up providing some extremely entertaining gameplay. A team running 3 fighting types Definitely not a team that's going to have a lot of long-term success, but it is fun to see a theme team like this catch some opponents off guard and get some improbable wins as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.